Imagine this, you receive a cold message from someone who once meant everything to you. Perhaps they betrayed you, discarded you, or simply vanished without explanation. Now, suddenly they resurface, acting as if nothing happened. Your pulse quickens, anger flares. You feel the urge to respond, to lash out, to demand answers, to make them see the pain they caused. Or maybe you feel the opposite, a desperate longing to pull them back into your orbit, to remind them of what you once had. But pause for a moment, breathe. Because the moment you react, you lose. Most people live on the surface, reacting to every slight, every provocation, every whisper of rejection. This is precisely what makes them predictable, weak, and easy to manipulate. They broadcast their emotions openly, revealing their wounds to the world. And those who know how to wield power exploit this tendency with ease. When you block someone in anger, what message does it send? That they still have control over your emotions, that their presence alone is enough to push you to action. They may feel a momentary sting, but soon the satisfaction sets in. I got to them. And when you beg, when you plead for closure, for recognition, for another chance, you place yourself beneath them, confirming their superiority in the dynamic. The true power lies in non-reaction. Imagine receiving that message, that provocation, and doing nothing. No response, no emotional outburst, not even the passive-aggressive gesture of blocking. You let it sit, unread or unanswered, while you carry on with your life, unaffected. This isn't passive silence, this is an active assertion of strength. In doing so, you disrupt their expectations. They anticipate a response, anger, desperation, even indifference, cloaked in words. But they receive nothing, and that nothing speaks volumes. It forces them to wonder, to analyze, to question their importance in your world. Power belongs to those who can control themselves when others cannot. The one who stays composed while everyone else reacts emotionally always comes out ahead. Because in the end, it is not about winning some petty game, it is about mastering yourself, becoming someone who no longer dances to the tune of another's manipulation. Imagine walking into a room and saying nothing, no explanations, no justifications, just silence. At first, people may not notice, but soon the weight of your quiet presence becomes unbearable. Someone will break, filling the void with nervous laughter, a forced comment, a question. Silence is not emptiness, it is power, it is control. Now apply this to the people who have wronged you, abandoned you, underestimated you. Their greatest expectation is your reaction. They anticipate your outrage, your desperate attempts to hold on, your need for closure. They expect you to explain yourself, to prove your worth, to fight for their attention. But when none of that comes, that is when the real battle begins, inside their own minds. Silence forces them to do something they weren't prepared for, reflect. In the absence of your voice, their own inner dialogue grows louder. They replay events, searching for a sign of where they lost control. They convince themselves they were the one in power, until doubt creeps in. What if I miscalculated? What if they never needed me in the first place? What if I was wrong? People crave certainty. They want to know where they stand in your life. Even those who appear indifferent still desire reassurance of their significance. Your silence denies them that. Instead of showing them that they still have an effect on you, you leave them in limbo, and limbo is torment. This is where silence becomes a weapon, not out of spite, not out of pettiness, but as a calculated move to regain control. It is not about pretending to be unaffected. It is about genuinely shifting your focus inward, making them realize they are no longer at the center of your world. The less you react, the more they obsess. The less you explain, the more they analyze, and the more you remain silent, the louder their own thoughts become. Eventually, they will reach out, not because they miss you, but because they need to restore their sense of certainty. They need to know where they stand. But by then, you have already won. Because the moment they seek your attention, the power dynamic has shifted. You no longer chase. You are no longer controlled by their actions. You are the mystery they cannot solve, the absence they cannot ignore. Picture this. Someone walks away from you, convinced they hold all the power. Maybe they betrayed you, dismissed you, or simply assumed you would always be there, waiting. They believe they have defined the story, that their version of events is the one that will last. But what if you could rewrite the ending without saying a single word? Human beings hate uncertainty. We crave conclusions, clarity, a sense of control over the narratives in our lives. When someone expects a dramatic reaction, tears, rage, desperate pleas, and instead receives nothing, they are thrown into a spiral of doubt. They begin filling in the blanks themselves, crafting explanations that often lead to one inevitable question: did I misjudge them? The moment you remove yourself from their world without giving them closure, you take back control of the story. The less you say, the more they wonder. Silence is a blank canvas upon which their own insecurities are painted. Instead of knowing exactly how you feel, they are left to guess, and guesswork is dangerous because the mind is rarely kind to itself. They will imagine you moving on without a second thought, thriving in ways they never expected. They will envision you as stronger, more desirable, and completely detached from their existence. This is the power of controlling the narrative, not through words, but through absence. You do not give them the satisfaction of knowing they still hold a place in your mind. You do not justify yourself, defend your actions, or seek validation. You simply live in such a way that their perception of you shifts from certainty to mystery. And mystery is far more compelling than any explanation you could ever provide. Eventually, curiosity will consume them. They will wonder if they made a mistake. They will start watching from the shadows, searching for clues, hoping to regain the certainty they once had. And when they do reach out, it will not be because you begged for their attention. It will be because they can no longer stand the unknown. But by then the power has shifted. They no longer dictate the terms of the story. You do. Because the one who controls the narrative controls the mind, and once you've planted doubt in theirs, you have already won. They expect you to crumble, to be broken, desperate, clinging to the past. They assume that without them you will wither away, haunted by the void they left behind. This is what they want to believe. It reassures them. It makes them feel powerful. But what if instead you did the opposite? What if rather than mourning their absence, you used it as fuel? There is no greater revenge than self-improvement, not out of spite, not out of bitterness, but because elevating yourself naturally shifts the balance of power. When you focus on growth physically, mentally, financially, emotionally, you send an unspoken message. You were never my ceiling. You were never my limit. I was always destined for more. And nothing unsettles people more than realizing they were not the center of your universe. Most people seek validation through confrontation. They want to prove a point, to make sure the other person sees their progress. But true power lies in moving so far ahead that their opinion no longer matters. You do not chase, you do not show off, you simply become. And here's the secret: the moment you truly shift your focus inward, something changes. The energy around you shifts. You start drawing new opportunities, new people, new levels of success. You begin to radiate a different presence, one that is magnetic, undeniable. And whether they admit it or not, those who once underestimated you feel it. They sense it in the way others speak about you, in the way you carry yourself, in the undeniable proof that their absence did not weaken you, it forged you. At some point they will look back, not because you forced them to, not because you sent reminders of your success, but because they cannot help it. Their curiosity will become their torment. They will search for signs that you still long for them, that you still care. And when they find nothing, no trace of longing, no bitterness, no evidence that they hold any power over you, that is when they will feel the loss. By then, however, it will be too late, because you will have already outgrown the version of yourself that once needed them, and the greatest victory is realizing that you never needed revenge, only evolution. Time is the greatest weapon of all. It does not shout, it does not argue, it does not beg for attention. It simply moves, quietly, relentlessly, reshaping everything in its path. And those who understand its power know that patience is not passivity, it is strategy. When someone wrongs you, when they walk away, when they underestimate you, the natural instinct is to act now, to prove your worth immediately, to demand recognition, to force a reaction. But this urgency is a trap. It places you in a position of weakness, making you appear desperate for validation. The true masters of the game, however, know that waiting is far more powerful than reacting. Because time has a way of shifting perspectives. The person who once dismissed you will at some point reflect. They may not realize it today, tomorrow, or even next month, but eventually they will. The silence you leave behind will start to gnaw at them. The absence they once thought insignificant will begin to feel like a void. And as they move through life, encountering people who do not match your depth, your presence will grow in their mind. This is the nature of human psychology. People rarely appreciate what they have in the moment. But given time, their perception evolves. They begin to romanticize the past, questioning their decisions, wondering if they miscalculated. And while they wrestle with doubt, you have already moved forward, becoming something greater than they ever expected. Patience allows the truth to reveal itself without your interference. It is the difference between chasing someone who does not value you and allowing them to realize your value on their own. When you do not rush to prove yourself, when you simply disappear and let time do its work, you create the conditions for their regret to grow naturally. And regret, once planted, takes deep root. The beauty of this approach is that by the time they look back, you will be far ahead. Their realization will come too late, and they will understand that the version of you they once knew no longer exists. You have evolved, elevated, ascended beyond their reach. Let time work in your favor. Let silence do the talking. While they are busy wondering, doubting, regretting, you will be too far ahead to care.